Hello there, welcome back to We Are Crafted in His Image. Today we are working on our very last project for the Grassy Grove Cocoa and Crafts class. Yes, I'm still fighting allergies. I did all of these videos within 2 days and yeah, it is killing me. It's kicking my behind. Anyway, I'm really hoping I've got a drink here so that I don't cough too much. But this is the project that we are going to work on today. As you can see, it is a card, but it doesn't open. It is like a pop-up type of card so that you can display it on a shelf. This card here, if you want to write anything, you're going to have to write it on the back side of the card. It will fit in an envelope. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. This is kind of fun. We're going to do this one a little bit different. I didn't like how all of my coloring is very much the same, so I'm going to do the bottom a little different than I did the top so that we can hopefully get a little different look going on there. So let's get started. We're going to go ahead and do our watercoloring first. You do have quite a few things inside one of your envelopes. There are some die cuts and stuff. Actually, no, you only have 2 things in there. You have 2 die cuts inside the envelope. Actually, you'll have 4 because you have enough to do 2 of these. And we have a few other projects, a few other things here. So we don't need all of this. Right now we're starting with our watercoloring. We need to do that so it can dry. And for this one, we want to give it like a sunset grassy meadow background. So grab our palette out. This time we're going to need some more of the old olive, and if you don't have the ink refill, we're just going to tap some of that. Actually, I'm going to go all the way across because well, actually, you're right, we only need this corner. We don't need a lot. I always forget, a little goes a long way in this. And then we need just a drop of the pale papaya and a drop of the blackberry bliss. And there we go. You will need a paintbrush or a water pen, and I do, like I said before, recommend that you have a glass of water. Even though this has water in it, it's not going to set out enough water to do what we want it to do. So I'm going to bring in a couple sheets of paper because we're going to get really wet. And let's get started. Now I want to do the background. I'm going to do do I want to do the sky or the grass first? I think I'm going to do the sky first. So to do that, just like we did the water sunset scene, only this time instead of a nice flat horizon, I'm going to make a hill. And because I'm working upside down, I'm just going to kind of go like that. Make an S shape. And everything above that S, I want to get wet. Oops, I've got some debris from my paint cup. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's do like we did last time. We need to water this whole thing. We're going to get this whole side wet. Okay, and then I'm going to flip it over. Now I'll do the hill. And everything above that. Get it nice and wet. Plenty of water on there. Make sure there's plenty down here. Alright, I'm going to start with my yellow, with my pale papaya. Just touch it down here to the bottom. Let that color bleed. The pale papaya really bleeds out. I love the way it just kind of, it moves very quickly. There we go. Wash some of that color out. And now pick up the blackberry bliss. This is such a fun color. And touch that to the top. And then rinse some of that off and blend these 2 down. Blend this one down to reach that. If you feel you need a little more color on there, we can pick up a little more. Let the color blend. Pick up a little more of the pale papaya down here. And then I'm going to blend these together. Alright, so that I can let dry a bit. Actually, I'm going to leave that there. And I'm going to turn this whole paper around. That way I don't accidentally get some of this down in my green. Now this isn't fully dry, and that's okay, but I'm going to go ahead and start with my grass. I do need to try to get most of that purple out of my brush though. And then let's go ahead and start adding. I'm going to start at the bottom. Come up here and just touch that yellow. There we go. Plenty of color on it. And now let's pick up some of our old olive and let's fill in our grass. And I probably should have waited for it to dry just a little bit. You know what it's going to look like? I have some bushes sticking up on my hillside. Now I do want some more intense color at the top of my hill here, so I'm going to add a little more color here. And maybe some more little shadows, just to give it a little bit of depth. And then I'm going to let that be. Now I don't want quite this much of a blend there, so I'm going to clean off some of this green. Yeah, I should have waited till that yellow was totally dry. I don't mind some of it going up, but I don't quite this much, so I'm going to use my brush, see if I can make my line change a little there. So fun thing about with watercolors is they're pretty forgiving. You can do a lot of changes with it. Now I'm going to let this dry. I may come back and do a second coat to kind of change this up a little bit here, but I'm going to let this dry as is, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, I am back. We're dry, and I want to kind of reinforce the top of my hill here, so I need to add a little bit more of my green onto my palette. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and grab some water. I'm just going to go right along where I want the top of my hill and go ahead and re-wet this whole area of grass. And if you had waited for your sky to be dry before you did your grass, you wouldn't have to do this step, but I want to reinforce this a little more. So now I'm going to come in with my green. There we go. Get that on there. Throw some more green around a few areas. And I think that's good. We're going to let this dry while I work on the rest of the card. So let me go ahead and clean this brush a little. Set that, get it out of the way. This part I'm going to move over here, and I'm going to pull out all the rest of the parts we need. We're going to start with this, and excuse me, to do it, I need another piece of paper. Let's see. Okay, so because we're going to need to be able to write on the back of the card, and I don't want to get any ink on there, I'm going to kind of make a mask by simply putting my card underneath a piece of paper. And then to get this cool texture that looks like leaves on here, I actually used the tree stamp. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to pull out, I think I'm going to do a little differently like I said this time. I'm going to do Old Olive for my trees only and not for the bushes, and then I'm going to use a different green down here for the bushes. So I'm going to ink it up, and I'm trying not to ink the stems or the trunks of my trees. No big deal if I do. It's really not a big deal. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start stamping and stamping off multiple times all over where the trees would have leaves, so that you get lots of different shades of this olive green color. Let's see, get some over here, and don't forget to go down close to the stems. Let's see, this looks good. I think I want a little bit more. I'm going to pull this out. Yep, I need to pull that out a little. There we go. So now we have, oh wait, I think I need a little bit more down here, right there. I'm trying to get all my leaves that are showing and fill that all in. And then we're going to use a different color for this area down here. And since we've been using Evening Evergreen, that sounds like a good color to use for this one. I'm going to clean my stamp a little. And then now I don't have to worry about that because I'm just going to be going down here. And I'm going to do the same thing with this as I did. Actually, we could just use this piece of paper. I'm going to stamp, stamp off, stamp again, stamp, stamp again, and again. Stamp again. Now I think because I don't like the distinct difference between these two colors, what I'm going to do, let me clean off this color, and I'm going to add in some more of the Old Olive down in this area here. See, we're just experimenting here. That's what we're doing. Pulling some of this color to kind of tie them together, but at the same time I wanted it to be a little bit different in shading. There we go. So there's that. Now, excuse me, we need to add in the trunks of our trees, and like I mentioned before, soft suede or any brown that you have, and grab your watercolor brush again. And where is my brush? Get my brush wet. There we go. Pick up some of that color, and I'm just going to paint in the trunks of my trees. And make sure you get up in here so that some of that brown peeks through the leaves. And it's okay if some of them are darker than others. That's what it would look like on a real tree. So go ahead and color that. That way some of that brown peeks through there. Let's get these over here. I went a little overboard on my bush. It's covering up my tree trunk quite a bit. A little bit up in there. Okay, so our card base, I believe, is ready. And actually what I might do, because the die leaves a little bit of a line right here, can you see where the ink didn't go in where that little embossed line is? That's where the edge of the die was. What I'm going to do is just come in with my watercolor, my just plain water, and just kind of blend some of that green ink onto the line, and just so that white line doesn't, it's not going to be white, it won't show up as much anymore. Let's kind of soften it a little bit. There we go. Okay, so clean these off and on to the next part. Actually, I should leave this open because I think I have to stamp a deer, so I might as well leave that open. Okay, so in the kit you also have, this piece here, and you have, let me see if I can find, oh, yep, there they are. The deer and some wildflowers. So I'm going to go ahead, since I have my brown out here, my deer is already mounted. It sounds like I have a trophy. I've mounted my deer. Sorry. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and line this up upside down. Try to do better than I did the last time. And I am all out of blocks. I need to grab a great big huge block here. Stamp again. Ah, there we go. Let's see how it came out. Ah, better. Not bad. Not bad. And then we want to do the same thing on the wildflower stamp. And this is exactly what my pasture looks like right now. It is full of wildflowers. It's so pretty. The daisies are blooming, and the Indian paintbrushes, and the clovers, and the clovers smell so sweet. Okay, now, you know what? Yeah, we're going to have to do the upside down because this is a red rubber. And I'm lining up the bottom. I think that's probably the easiest way to do this one. There we go. Get my block again. Push down. And ta-da! That one's done. And then this weird looking thing, the kit has a die to cut out the top portion of this stamp. So I cut it out because you have 2 cards, so you need 2 of them. So I cut out one side and then I cut out the other side. So we're going to do this twice. I only need one because I'm only putting together one card, but I wanted to show you what yours look like. And I think I just realized I did that in the wrong color. I was going to do that in the Evening Evergreen. I guess I'm going to do this one in the Evening Evergreen. So either way, or should I just do it in Old Olive? I think I will do it in Old Olive. I'm going to do something else with the Evening Evergreen that's different from my original. We'll check that out in a minute. Okay, ink up this big old stamp. I will need that block in a minute. No, I won't. I won't. Yes, I will. And now, let's see if I can line this up very well. Oh, how am I going to do this? I think I'm just going to eyeball. Yep, that'll work. This one's not too hard, I don't think. Ta-da! And then for yours, because you're going to do 2 of these, you would then ink it up and also stamp on this side, and then you're just going to cut it across the bottom of that. So let me go ahead and put this away. I have one more bit of stamping to do, but I have to wait until our background is totally dry to do it. So while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to go ahead and cut. I'll bring in my cutter here. And let's cut across the bottom of this. I don't need the scoring blade, I need the cutting blade. There we go. And there is our bottom piece. And I am going to do a little trimming. I don't need this end piece on here, so I'm going to trim that down. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And then, because of the way I wanted to set it up, I didn't necessarily want this all the way across. I wanted it to look like 2 hills. So I don't know if you can see very well in here, but I cut it and put them one on each side. So I'm going to cut pretty much right up this side like that. So there's how we're going to do this piece. And then let's start assembling. Yes, no, well, we can go ahead and score this, or actually fold this. This is a piece that you have in there. Now I decided that this piece that I originally made was too big, so yours is, this one is a little bit smaller, and you're just going to fold it into a W or an M, depending on which way you're looking at it. Whoops, fold in there, come on. There we go. And you'll want to give this a really good burnish with your bone folder. Make sure that's so that your card will fold up nice and tight when you put it in your envelope. There we go. But then you also want to be able to fold it out when you're displaying the card. Now let's move this all out of the way. Let's see how dry my background piece is. I think it's good. So this is where I'm going to pull in the evening evergreen. This was an idea I had after I'd assembled the other one. I would like to have that wildflower stamp in between on the back behind these hills. So since my hills are going to be about here, it's going to help me eyeball where I want this to go. So now I'm going to move those out of my way, maybe, and I'm going to stamp this about there. There we go. Okay, now we can put everything together. Let's get this put together. Where'd my card base go? There it is. So let's start by folding on the score line. Get your bone folder and burnish that down. Alright, and then we're going to adhere this to the inside. Whoop. Helps if it doesn't have the lid on it. There we go. And this is just slightly smaller than the outside of the card. Actually, you want to bring it up. I'm going to line it up with this top part because the bottom is going to be completely hidden anyway. It doesn't have to be perfect because you're really not going to see the edges at all. They're going to be covered. Oh, that reminds me. Okay, I made a boo-boo already. I wanted to adhere my base piece behind there. So now you can either use Stampin' Seal Plus or tear and tape, whichever, or just a really good strong adhesive is what I would recommend for this part. So you want some, I'm going to use tear and tape, and you're going to put it on this outside flap. Come on, tear tape. There we go. And on this side. There we go. And peel off the backing. And you want to put this on so that this bottom fold lines up with the bottom of your card. So it would probably be a little easier to do if I hadn't already laid that other on here. Get in there. There we go. And then I want to lay that on top of it. There we go. And now we're going to put our deer and our two backgrounds on with dimensionals. So let me grab those. I want good size dimensionals for these. I'm going to cut myself a couple of halves here. Or I could have grabbed some small dimensionals. There we go. Where'd my cup? My throat actually hurts from all of the yuckiness going on. Okay, now we want to put this down here at the bottom, and I'm just going to line up the edge with the edge of my watercolor paper, and then let's line up. Let's put this one on the other side, Make sure your bottoms are equal. And then my deer will just get glued onto here. And I think I'm just going to use liquid glue because really only his legs are going to be stuck on. So to give me just a little bit on his legs there. And I may stick a dimensional on, what did I do with them? Oh, there they are, right next to me. On his body, that's going to be above the grassy part. There we go, so he doesn't get pushed back. And then the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and adhere this to the front of our card. And I think the easiest way to do this is to use a pokey tool or something similar to help hold this down flat, and then close your card onto it. There you go. And then we have one more little bit of grass that we can adhere to the inside wherever you want. I think I'm going to try to hide some of the deer's legs, like the base of it, like right there. So I'm going to also use dimensionals with this one, and again, that's just going to give us some depth. It's going to give us like layers. I'm going to cut these. My daughter's trying to sneak around the house while I'm doing this. I can hear, oh, I put it on the wrong side. You got to put these on the front, not on the back. It's a habit. We always put these on the back. Why would we put it on the front, right? Whoops, that one didn't stick. Actually, it did stick. It stuck too well. And here we go. So let's take these and slide it back behind here. And there we have, when you open it up, it'll stand up, but then you have a finished card. And I like this coloring better than this one. I don't know, which one do you like better? I think I like that one. But there you have it, a finished 3D card. You can write your sentiment on the back side, and these will fit inside the envelopes that I provided. We didn't stamp on these, but you can stamp something. I recommend you put them in upside down like that, so you can actually close this and leave a little bit of space for it. But yeah, it will fit in an envelope if you want to mail this to somebody. And there you have a cute, cool little card, 3D little display. That'd be pretty on a desk, I think. So there you have our last project for our Grassy Grove Cocoa and Crafts class. I hope you enjoyed them all, and I look forward to crafting with you again. Until then, God's love and blessings to you. Bye!